Commander Day 1 stood in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council and felt smaller than he had ever felt in his life. The room stretched upward for what seemed like miles, filled with beings from 47 different species. Some floated in containment fields. Others stood on platforms adjusted to their gravity needs. A few existed as pure energy. Their thoughts translated into sound by machines older than human civilization. He had practiced his speech for months. Earth's best minds had helped him prepare. He wore his finest uniform, decorated with medals from humanity's greatest achievements. Behind him stood Ambassador Jiho and Dr. Hannah, representing Earth's diplomatic and scientific communities. They had come here with hope burning in their hearts. That hope died in the first 10 minutes. Day 1 spoke about humanity's achievements. He explained how they had unified their entire planet under one government after centuries of war. He described their journey to faster-than-light travel, accomplished in just 200 years of space exploration. He showed holographic displays of human cities, human art, human culture. He spoke with pride about what his species had built. The laughter started small. A clicking sound from the Krillian section, a buzzing from the insectoid Vrax delegation, then it grew. Within moments, the entire chamber echoed with sounds that needed no translation. They were laughing at him. Counselor Vexther of the Krillian Empire rose from his seat. He was massive, nearly 8 feet tall, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. His forearms gestured dismissively at the human displays. His voice boomed across the chamber, and the translation devices made sure every human heard every word clearly. "You speak of unifying one small planet as an achievement," Vexer said, his tone dripping with contempt. "The Krillians unified 3,000 worlds before your species learned to make fire. You boast of faster-than-light travel that took you 2 centuries to develop. We mastered it in less than a decade, 10,000 years ago. Your cities would fit inside our waste disposal facilities." The chamber erupted in what could only be described as agreement. Species that had never spoken to each other seemed united in their amusement at humanity's expense. A crystalline being from the Silthine Collective spoke next. Its thoughts translated into cold, emotionless words. "We have reviewed human technology. Your computers process information using electrical switches. We evolved past such primitive methods 8,000 years ago. Your medical science still cannot cure basic cellular decay. Your weapons technology is laughably outdated." Day 1 felt his face burning. Beside him, Ambassador Jiho trembled with suppressed rage. Dr. Hannah stood perfectly still. Her face an emotionless mask, but her hands were clenched so tight her knuckles had gone white. The presentations continued. Each species took turns explaining why humanity was too primitive, too young, too insignificant to matter. The Thornian Hive showed videos of their bioengineered warriors that could survive in the vacuum of space. The Kelstar Union demonstrated gravity manipulation technology that could crush a planet. The Meridian Expanse revealed ships the size of moons. After 3 hours of humiliation, Counselor Vexther called for a vote on humanity's status. The result was unanimous. Earth would be granted observer status only. They could watch council proceedings but never vote. They could speak but would not be heard. Their territory was limited to their single solar system, and even that came with restrictions. "We designate Earth as a developmental preserve," Vexther announced. "Other species may visit to study human culture and behavior. But humans may not leave their system without council approval. Consider it a zoo, if you will. A place where we can observe a primitive species as it either evolves or destroys itself." Ambassador Jiho stepped forward, his voice shaking with anger. "You cannot do this. We are a sovereign species. We have rights." "You have only the rights we grant you," Vexer replied. "And we grant you very few." Day 1 could not contain himself any longer. He moved between Jiho and the counselor. "We did not come here to be mocked. We came here as equals." Vexter's laugh was like thunder. "Equals? Prove it, human. Face me in combat. Show this council that your species deserves respect." Day 1 knew it was a trap. He knew he should walk away. But the rage burning in his chest would not let him refuse. He was a decorated combat veteran. He had fought in wars. He had never lost a one-on-one fight. The combat lasted exactly 4 seconds. Vexthur moved faster than Daywan's eyes could follow. One moment the Krillian stood 10 feet away. The next moment, Daywan was on the floor, 3 of his ribs broken, his left arm twisted at an unnatural angle. He had not even seen the blow coming. The chamber fell silent. Then the laughter resumed, louder than before. Vexthur stood over Daywan's broken body. Return to your preserve human. Learn your place. Perhaps in another 10,000 years, you will be ready to sit at the adult table. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. During that time, Daywan said nothing. He sat in his quarters, staring at the wall, replaying the humiliation over and over in his mind. Ambassador Jiho tried to talk to him several times, but gave up after. Daywan refused to respond. Dr. Hannah spent the journey in her own quarters, working on her portable computer. She did not eat. She did not sleep. She simply worked. When they arrived at Earth, the entire planet was watching. The council had broadcast the entire meeting. Every human had seen their representatives humiliated. They had seen their commander broken in seconds. They had heard their species called a zoo exhibit. Protests erupted in every major city. Some humans demanded war. Others fell into despair, believing humanity would never be more than a cosmic joke. The government struggled to maintain order. Daywan resigned from his position the day after returning. He could not bear to wear his uniform anymore. He disappeared from public life, unable to face the people he had failed. Ambassador Jiho fared no better. The diplomatic corps blamed him for the disaster. He was reassigned to a minor position processing trade disputes. He died 2 years later when the Mars colony was destroyed, though that tragedy still lay in the future. Dr. Hannah returned to her laboratory beneath the Gobi Desert. She dismissed her staff and locked the doors. For 3 days, she reviewed classified files that had been sealed for decades. Projects deemed too dangerous, too ambitious, too impossible. On the 4th day, she made a single call to Director Kwan of Earth's Unified Defense Force. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes. I need unlimited funding, complete autonomy, and absolute secrecy, she said. Kwan asked what she intended to build. Vengeance, Hannah replied. She pulled up the old files on her screen. The project had been suspended 20 years ago because it was considered impossible. The math did not work. The physics made no sense. Every simulation ended in catastrophic failure. But Hannah looked at those failures with new eyes. Eyes that had seen humanity mocked by beings who claimed to be superior. Eyes that burned with a rage so pure it felt like ice in her veins. The project name glowed on her screen. In red letters, Vengeance Engine. Dr. Hannah began to work. 5 years had passed since the humiliation, and Earth looked like a planet slowly dying. The Galactic Council had made good on their promises to isolate humanity. Trade routes avoided human space. Tourist ships that once brought curious aliens to see Earth's natural wonders stopped coming. The few alien vessels that did appear came only to mock, treating Earth like the zoo Vexthur had described. The global economy struggled. Unemployment reached 40% in some regions. Many humans fell into depression, believing their species would never amount to anything. Suicide rates climbed. Birth rates fell. Humanity seemed to be losing hope. But beneath the Gobi Desert, in a facility that officially did not exist, hope burned with the intensity of a fusion reactor. Dr. Hannah stood before a window overlooking the main construction chamber. The space was enormous, carved from solid rock 5 miles below the surface. Inside, the Vengeance Engine was taking shape. It looked nothing like conventional technology. Where human ships were built, with clean lines and logical structures, the engine seemed almost organic. Curved surfaces connected to angular protrusions. Energy conduits pulsed with light that existed in colors human eyes were not designed to perceive. Director, we have a problem with Reactor 7, said Engineer Taesoon, approaching with a tablet in hand. He was young, barely 30, but already considered one of Earth's finest military engineers. He had given up a prestigious position to work in this hidden place, driven by the same rage that fueled them all. Show me, Hannah said. Taesung pulled up the data. The containment field keeps destabilizing. Every time we try to channel null space energy through conventional matter, the matter simply ceases to exist. It is not destroyed. It just stops being real. Hana studied the numbers. In the 5 years since beginning this project, she had learned things about the universe that terrified her. The Galactic Council species were advanced, but they were also limited. Every single one of them built their technology on the same foundation, manipulating the 4 fundamental forces of nature: gravity, electromagnetism, strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force. Humanity had discovered a 5th force, though calling it a force was not quite accurate. They called it null space, but it was more like a dimension that existed underneath reality. A place where the rules were different, where cause and effect were suggestions rather than laws, where mass and energy could be created or destroyed at will. The problem was that accessing null space tended to destroy anything that touched it. "We need to run another test," Hannah said. "Prepare the small vessel." Tae-soon hesitated. "Director, the last test killed the pilot. His body was found in 3 different time periods simultaneously. We still do not understand how that is even possible, which is exactly why we need more data," Hannah replied coldly. "Find me another volunteer." "I already have one," a voice said from behind them. Captain Yuna walked into the control room. She moved with the careful precision of someone who knew their body was failing. Radiation exposure from the early faster-than-light experiments had given her terminal cancer. The doctors gave her 2 years at most. She had volunteered for the project 6 months ago, determined to make her remaining time count. "Absolutely not," Tae-soon said. "You saw what happened to the last pilot." "I saw a chance to make those alien bastards pay," Yuna replied. "I am dying anyway. Let me die doing something that matters." Hannah studied the young captain. She saw the determination in her eyes, the same burning need for vengeance that Hannah felt every waking moment. "Prepare the vessel. We launch in 3 hours." The test ship was small, barely large enough for a single pilot. It had been built using the data from 100 failed experiments. The hull was constructed from materials that existed partially in normal space and partially in null space at all times. Sitting inside it felt like sitting inside a dream. Yuna strapped herself into the pilot seat. Through the canopy, she could see the vast underground chamber. Hundreds of scientists and engineers watched from behind protective barriers. She had volunteered for this, knowing she would probably die. Somehow that made it easier. "All systems ready," came Taesung's voice through her helmet speakers. "Remember, you only need to hold the phase shift for 3 seconds. Any longer, and the temporal stress will kill you." "Understood," Yuna said. She placed her hands on the controls. They were not physical controls. Not really. The ship was designed to respond to thought, to intention. Piloting it was more like meditation than flying. She activated the null space drive. Reality twisted for 3 seconds. Yuna existed everywhere and nowhere. She could see through the walls of the chamber. She could see the scientists watching her. She could see her own body sitting in the pilot seat, but she could also see herself as a child, as an old woman, as dust scattered across the stars. Time lost all meaning. Space became fluid. Then she was back in normal reality, gasping for air, her heart hammering in her chest. "We did it." Taesung's voice was filled with awe. "Sensors could not detect you at all during the phase shift. To everything in normal space, you simply did not exist." Yuna looked at her hands. They were shaking. She felt different, though she could not explain how. When she looked in the mirror later, she would see that her hair had streaks of white that had not been there before. The temporal stress had aged her by a year in just 3 seconds, but it had worked. Humanity now had a ship that could become invisible and intangible to any sensor technology the Galactic Council possessed. Up on the surface, far from the hidden facility, Counselor Vexler was making another of his periodic visits to Earth. He enjoyed these visits. They let him remind the humans of their place. He toured a fake research facility that Director Kwan had set up specifically for such inspections. It showed humanity making slow, plodding progress on conventional technology. Nothing impressive. Nothing threatening. Your species continues to amuse me, Vexter, said Taquan as they walked through the sterile hallways. 5 years, and you have barely advanced at all. Perhaps we were too generous, giving you observer status. Quan smiled politely, hiding the rage behind his eyes. We are doing our best with limited resources. Of course you are, Vexter said, with obvious condescension. Before I leave, I have news from the Council. We have decided to auction off mining rights to your moon. Several species have expressed interest in the rare minerals there. The auction will be held in 18 months. You cannot sell our moon, Quan said, his diplomatic mask slipping. That is our territory, is it? Vexler smiled. I do not recall the Council granting you territorial rights beyond your planet itself. The moon, the asteroids, the outer planets, they are all available for development. You should be grateful we are not selling Earth itself. They'll give us time. Perhaps we will. After Vexter left, Quan descended into the hidden facility. He found Dr. Hannah in her private office, surrounded by screens showing different aspects of the Vengeance Engine's construction. He is selling our moon, Quan said without preamble. The auction is in 18 months. Hannah did not look up from her work. Then we have 18 months to finish this. Can we do it? For the first time in hours, Hannah met his eyes. What he saw there frightened him. There was no humanity left in that gaze, only cold calculation and burning rage. We can do it, she said. And when we do, Counselor Vexter and every other species that mocked us will learn what happens when you push humanity too far. Quan left her to her work. As he walked back through the facility, he passed Captain Yuna in the medical bay. The doctors were examining her, trying to understand what the phase shift had done to her body. She looked exhausted, but triumphant. How do you feel? Quan asked. Right. Like I aged a year in 3 seconds, Yuna replied. But it was worth it. We proved the technology works. Are you willing to do it again? Yuna did not hesitate. As many times as it takes. Deep in the construction chamber, the Vengeance engine continued to grow. Every day, it became more complete. Every day, it drew more power from the null space dimension beneath reality. The scientists working on it began to experience strange dreams. They saw futures that might be, pasts that never were, presents that existed in parallel to their own. Engineer Taesung began to suspect. They were building something far more dangerous than a weapon. But whenever he tried to discuss his concerns with Dr. Hannah, she dismissed him. She had become obsessed, working 20-hour days, forgetting to eat or sleep. The project had consumed her completely. 18 months, he thought. 18 months until they activated a device that could rewrite the laws of physics. 18 months until humanity either claimed its place among the stars or destroyed itself trying. He returned to his calculations. Pushing his doubts aside, the galaxy had mocked them. The galaxy would pay. 14 months had passed since Counselor Vexter announced the moon auction. The Vengeance engine stood at 87% completion, a massive structure that seemed to hum with barely contained power even when dormant. The facility beneath the Gobi Desert had grown to house over 3,000 scientists and engineers, all sworn to absolute secrecy. Engineer Taesung stood in the main control room, reviewing the latest calculations. What he saw made his blood run cold. He had spent the past month running simulations, trying to understand exactly what would happen when the engine activated at full power. The results were far worse than he had imagined. He found Dr. Hannah in her office, as always. She had aged badly in the past year. Her hair had gone completely white. Her hands shook with a tremor she could not control. She rarely left the facility anymore, sleeping in a small room adjacent to her workspace. We need to talk, Taesung said, closing the door behind him. If this is about Reactor 7 again. I already approved the modifications, Hannah replied, without looking up from her screens. This is about what happens when we turn this thing on. It got her attention. She finally looked at him, and Taesung saw something in her eyes that terrified him. There was no sanity there anymore, only obsession. I have run the full-scale simulations, Taesung continued. When the Vengeance engine activates, it will not just disable alien technology. It will create a resonance field that extends for several light years. Every piece of technology based on conventional physics will simply stop working. That includes life support systems, medical equipment, planetary infrastructure. We are not building a weapon. We are building a genocide machine. Good, Hannah said simply. Good? Tasoon stared at her in disbelief. You are talking about killing billions of beings. I am talking about making them irrelevant, the same way they made us irrelevant, Hannah replied. They mocked us. They called us a zoo exhibit. They sold our moon like we do not even exist. They deserve this. Tasoon pulled up another set of data on his tablet. That is not even the worst part. I found something in the deeper calculations, something you have been hiding. The Vengeance engine does not just disable technology temporarily. It creates a permanent tear between normal space and null space. The laws of physics will begin breaking down in an ever-expanding sphere. Maybe it takes 1,000 years. Maybe it takes 100. But eventually, the entire galaxy will become uninhabitable. You know this? You have always known this. Anna stood up slowly. She was shorter than Tasoon, but in that moment, she seemed to tower over him. And what would you have me do? Build them a new toy? Beg for their forgiveness? They made their choice when they humiliated us. Now we make ours. This is insane, Tasoon said. You are destroying everything, including Earth. Then we will die free, Hannah replied. We will die knowing we mattered, that we were not just some cosmic joke. Tasoon left her office feeling sick. He had dedicated 3 years of his life to this project, driven by the same rage that consumed them all. But this was too far. This was not justice. This was extinction. But he was not the only one who had discovered the truth. Researcher Biora was a young physicist who had joined the project straight out of university. She had spent the past 6 months analyzing the null-space dimensional interface. What she discovered kept her awake at night. She cornered Taesnong in one of the quiet corridors. You know, don't you? About what is really going to happen? Taesong nodded. I confronted Dr. Hannah. She does not care. She wants this. Then we have to stop her, Biora said. There has to be a shutdown protocol. I have been looking for one. If it exists, Hannah has hidden it well. What neither of them knew was that their conversations were being monitored. Agent Mira had been working at the facility for 2 years, presenting herself as a materials scientist. She was quiet, competent, and utterly forgettable, which was exactly why the Silthine Collective chosen her for this mission. Mira had been surgically altered to appear human. The process had been excruciating, transforming her crystalline biology into flesh and bone. But it had worked perfectly. She had infiltrated the project and had been feeding carefully selected information back to her handlers for months. Not everything. Just enough to make the council nervous. Just enough to make them suspicious. She sent her latest report through a quantum-encrypted channel. The message was simple. Engine nearing completion. Recommend immediate action. On the surface, at the fake research facility, Counselor Vexther received a priority communication from his government. The Krillian Intelligence Service had intercepted unusual energy signatures coming from Earth's desert regions. Massive power consumption. Exotic particle emissions. Something was happening beneath the surface. Vexther assembled a battle fleet. 15 of the Krillian Empire's most powerful warships dropped out of faster than light. Travel above Earth. Their weapons could crack a planet's crust. Their shields could withstand a supernova. They represented enough firepower to sterilize Earth 100 times over, Director Quan. Vexther's voice boomed through every communication device on Earth. I demand immediate access to all research facilities on your planet. You have 1 hour to comply. Quan stood in the command center, surrounded by Earth's military leadership. They all knew the truth now. They all knew what would happen if Vexther discovered the Vengeance engine. But they also knew they could not let him have it. The answer is no, Quan said calmly. Earth is a sovereign world. You have no authority here. Vexther's response was immediate and devastating. He targeted the human colony on Mars. 3 million people lived there. farming and mining on humanity's first off-world settlement. It represented decades of work and hope for the future. The Carillion ships fired once. Mars' colony ceased to exist. 3 million humans died in less than a second, vaporized by energy weapons that turned the entire settlement into molten glass. That was a demonstration, Bexter said. The next target will be one of your cities on Earth. Beijing, perhaps, or Mumbai. You have 30 minutes to comply. In the hidden facility, alarms blared. Dr. Hannah stood in the control room. Watching the news feeds showing what remained of Mars, she felt nothing. The rage had burned away everything else inside her. "Activate the engine," she ordered. "It is not ready," one of the technicians protested. "We still need at least 4 months of testing." I said activated. Hannah repeated. "Full power. Maximum resonance field. Director, that will kill everyone within 20 light years." Tae-soon said, having rushed to the control room when the alarm started. "Including everyone on Earth. Do you think I care anymore?" Hannah asked. "They killed Mars. They will kill Earth next. At least this way, we take them with us."
Ow.
She entered a command code into the main console. A countdown appeared on every screen in the facility. 72 hours until activation. The system was locked. Only Hannah knew the abort codes. Then she disappeared. Security searched the entire facility. She was nowhere to be found. Her office was empty. Her quarters were abandoned. Dr. Hannah had vanished, leaving behind a weapon that would activate automatically in 3 days and destroy everything. Tae-soon stood in the control room, staring at the countdown. He tried every override he could think of. Nothing worked. The system had been designed to be tamper-proof. Hannah had made sure of that. "Find her," he ordered the security team. She cannot have gone far, but she had. Hannah had prepared for this moment. She had built herself a small escape ship months ago, hidden in a remote section of the facility. While everyone searched below ground, she was already in space. Heading toward a station she had constructed in secret in the Kuiper Belt. From there she could watch. She could see Earth and the Council fleet above it. She could witness the final moments before the Vengeance engine activated and made everything equal. Made everything nothing. In the facility, panic spread. 3,000 people suddenly understood they were standing next to a doomsday device with a 72-hour countdown. Some tried to flee. Others tried desperately to find a way to shut it down. A few simply sat down and waited for the end. Agent Mira made her choice. She revealed herself to Engineer Tae-soon, showing him proof of her true nature. Her skin shimmered and became translucent for just a moment, revealing the crystalline structure beneath. "I am Silthine," she said. "I have been spying on this facility for 2 years. But I am also the only person here who might know how to stop this. Why would you help us?" Tae-soon asked. "Because I have lived among humans for 2 years. I have seen your determination, your creativity, your capacity for both great rage and great kindness. You do not deserve extinction. Neither does the galaxy. Do you know the shutdown code?" "No," Mira admitted. "But I know Dr. Hannah better than she thinks. She would have created a failsafe, a way to abort if she changed her mind. It will require access from 2 locations simultaneously. One inside the engine's core chamber, one from wherever she is now." Captain Yuna volunteered immediately. "I will go into the core. I have done it before during testing." "The core is already phasing in and out of null space," Tae-soon warned. "The radiation and temporal stress will kill you within minutes." "I am already dying," Yuna replied. She looked older now, aged by months of test flights. "Let me die saving everyone instead of from cancer in a hospital bed." The countdown read 68 hours when Commander Daewon arrived at the facility. He had been living in isolation since the humiliation 5 years ago, but Director Kwan had sent him an urgent message revealing everything. The Vengeance engine, the coming activation, the end of everything. Daewon descended into the underground facility and saw chaos. Thousands of scientists and engineers were trying desperately to find a solution. Some were still attempting to hack the countdown system. Others were evacuating non-essential personnel. A few had simply given up, sitting in corners and waiting for death. Engineer Tae-sung met him at the main control room. "Thank you for coming. I know this must be difficult for you." "You built a weapon that will destroy the galaxy," Daewon said. "You did it because of what happened to me 5 years ago. How am I supposed to feel? Angry, guilty, horrified?" Tae-sung suggested. "I feel all of those things. But right now, I need your help. Dr. Hannah respects you, even after everything. If anyone can convince her to stop this, it is you." "Where is she?" Tae-sung pulled up a star chart. "We tracked her ship. She is in the Kuiper Belt, on a hidden station. She has been watching everything from there, and I will go talk to her," Daewon said. Agent Myra stepped forward. "It is not that simple. The shutdown requires input from 2 locations. Someone needs to be inside the engine's core chamber at the exact moment Dr. Hannah enters her abort code. The core is already partially phased into null space. Whoever goes in there will die." "I will do it," said Captain Yuna, entering the room. She looked terrible. The repeated test flights had aged her dramatically. Her face showed lines that belonged to a woman 20 years older. Her hair was streaked with gray. But her eyes were still sharp, still determined. "Absolutely not," Daewon said immediately. "I will not let anyone else die because of my failure." "This is not about your failure," Yuna replied. "This is about all of us failing to see what we were becoming. I have been dying slowly for months anyway. The phase shift exposure is killing me. Let me die doing something that matters." Above the planet, Counselor Vexther's patience ran out. His fleet began bombardment. The first target was Beijing. Energy beams lanced down from orbit, each one carrying enough power to vaporize a city block. Within minutes, the ancient capital of Earth was burning. Director Kwan watched from the command center, unable to stop it. Earth's defenses were useless against Krillian technology. Humanity's ships were like toys compared to the fleet in orbit. All he could do was watch his world burn and hope that somewhere in the facility below, someone would find a way to stop the vengeance engine. The countdown read 65 hours. Daewon took a small, fast ship and launched toward the Kuiper Belt. The journey would take him 30 hours. Leaving precious little time to convince Dr. Hannah and return the abort code. As he flew, he watched Earth through his viewport. He could see the fires burning on the surface. Beijing, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, one by one. Vexther was destroying humanity's greatest cities. The rage he had buried 5 years ago came roaring back. Part of him wanted the vengeance engine to activate. Part of him wanted to watch Vexther and every other species that had mocked humanity burn in cosmic fire. But he thought about Ambassador Jiho, who had died believing humanity could be better than their enemies. He thought about the billions of innocent beings throughout the galaxy who had nothing to do with the Council's arrogance. He thought about Captain Yuna, willing to die to save everyone. In the facility, Yuna prepared for her final mission. The medical team tried to talk her out of it, but she refused to listen. She put on the specialized suit designed for null space exposure, knowing it would only buy her a few extra minutes at best. "How do you feel?" Tae-sung asked as she prepared to enter the core chamber. "Terrified," Yuna admitted, "but also strangely calm. I have always wondered what my death would mean. Now I know. It will mean something." The core chamber was a sphere of twisted space-time at the heart of the vengeance engine. It pulsed with colors that should not exist, radiating energy that made reality itself unstable. Yuna stepped through the entrance, and immediately felt time become fluid around her. She saw herself as a child, playing in the park. She saw herself as an old woman, gray-haired and peaceful. She saw versions of herself that never existed, timelines that branched off into mito-bins. The temporal stress was already beginning to tear her apart, but she pushed forward, toward the central console where the abort code would need to be entered. Every step took hours and seconds simultaneously. Her body aged and regressed in stuttering pulses. By the time she reached the console, she looked 50 years old. "I am in position," she reported through the communication link. "Standing by for Dr. Hannah's code." 35 light-years away, Daewon's ship arrived at the hidden station. It was small, barely large enough for one person, tucked into the shadow of a massive ice asteroid. He docked and entered through the airlock. Dr. Hannah was waiting for him in the single-room habitat. She looked like death. Her skin was gray, stretched tight over her skull. Her hands trembled constantly. She had been exposing herself to null space radiation, letting it slowly kill her, while keeping her mind sharp enough to finish her work. "Commander," she said. "I wondered if you would come." "Turn it off," Daewon said without preamble. "Whatever point you are trying to make, you have made it. Turn off the engine and let them win." Hannah laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "Let them continue mocking us. Let them sell our moon and destroy our cities without consequence. No, they need to learn what happens when you push humanity too far." "They are learning right now," Daewon said. "Vexter is burning our cities. He has killed millions in the past day alone. But if you activate the engine, you are no different from him. You become exactly what they accused us of being. Primitive, destructive, dangerous." "We are dangerous," Hannah replied. "That is the point. We are not their zoo animals. We are not their joke. We are humanity, and we will make the galaxy tremble." Daewon pulled up a communication screen. "Look, watch this." On the screen, Captain Yuna stood in the core chamber. Her body flickered between ages. Child, adult, elder, corpse, infant. The temporal stress was tearing her apart. But she remained at her post, waiting for the abort code. "She is dying right now," Daewon said. "She volunteered to die slowly and painfully in the hope that you would show mercy. That you would remember what humanity is supposed to be." Hannah looked away. "Humanity is supposed to be strong. We are supposed to matter." "We matter because of people like her," Daewon said. "Not because of weapons. Not because of revenge. Ambassador Ji-Ho told me something before he died. He said vengeance makes us their equals, but mercy makes us their betters. Show the galaxy which one we choose." For the first time in years, doubt crept into Hannah's eyes. She looked at the countdown on her screen. 32 hours remaining. On Earth, the bombardment continued. Mexico City was gone. London burned. Tokyo had been evacuated just in time, but millions had died in the chaos. Counselor Vexer sent a message to Director Kwan. "I will destroy one city every hour until you grant me access to whatever you are hiding. Your choice is simple: surrender or extinction." In the facility, Agent Myra made a decision. She had been studying the Vengeance Engine systems. Using her natural Sylthan abilities to interface with quantum computers, she believed she could transmit the first part of the shutdown code through the quantum entanglement network, bypassing the need for physical presence. But it would burn out her mind. The human brain she had been given through surgery was not designed to handle that kind of data flow. She would die, and it would not be quick, she told Taesoon her plan. "You cannot do this," he said. "You are Sylthine. This is not your fight." "I have lived among humans for 2 years," Mira replied. "I have seen your art, your music, your literature. I have watched you struggle and fail and get back up. I have seen Captain Yuna volunteer to die to save everyone. How can I do less?" Taesoon had no answer. The countdown reached 24 hours. In the Kuiper Belt, Dr. Hannah sat in her small station, staring at the abort code on her screen. Her finger hovered over the button that would transmit it. On Earth. Captain Yuna's body continued to disintegrate in the core chamber. She existed in 4 dimensions simultaneously now. She could see the past and future overlapping. She watched herself being born and dying at the same time. Through the temporal chaos, she saw something that made her scream. Beyond null space, something was watching. Something ancient and vast and hungry. The Vengeance Engine was not just a weapon. It was a door. And when it opened, what waited on the other side would consume everything. The countdown read 18 hours when Captain Yuna managed to send her discovery to Engineer Taesoon. The message was broken, fractured by temporal interference. But the core truth came through clearly. The Vengeance Engine was not going to collapse physics. It was going to open a door to something worse. Taesung stared at the data in horror. Beyond null space, in a dimension humans had no name for, something waited. The entity was old beyond measure, existing since before the universe formed structure and meaning. It perceived matter and energy as food. It had been trying to break into normal space for billions of years, and humanity, in their rage and desperation, had accidentally built it a bridge. "We have to tell Dr. Hannah," Taesung said to Agent Myra. "If she knows what the engine will really do, she has to abort." "Will she care?" Mira asked. "She wants to destroy the galaxy. This just means she gets her wish." Taesung transmitted the data to Commander Daewon's ship in the Kuiper Belt. The message would take hours to arrive. He could only hope it would be in time. Above Earth, the bombardment continued. Counselor Vexter had destroyed 20 major cities in the past 12 hours. Over 50 million humans were dead. The Council fleet showed no signs of stopping until they got what they wanted, Director.
Ow.
Quan stood in the ruins of the command center. Half his staff was dead. The rest were exhausted, having worked without sleep for 2 days straight. He sent one final message to Vexter. "You want to know what we built? Fine, I will tell you." He transmitted the complete specifications of the Vengeance engine to every ship in the fleet. He showed them the null space technology. He showed them the dimensional interface. He showed them how humanity had discovered something the elder races had missed in 10,000 years of advancement. The response from the Council fleet was immediate shock. Their scientists analyzed the data and understood what it meant. Humanity had not just built a weapon. They had rewritten the fundamental rules of technology. Counselor Vexter's next message was different in tone. The arrogance was gone, replaced by fear. "Stop this immediately. We will negotiate. Name your terms, my terms." Quan laughed bitterly. "You murdered 50 million of my people in the past day. You destroyed Mars. You called us zoo animals. And now you want to negotiate because you are afraid? No, you do not get to negotiate. You get to wait and see what happens next, just like we have been waiting for 5 years." In the Kuiper Belt station, Commander Daewon received Taesung's message about the entity beyond null space. He showed it to Dr. Hannah without comment. She read the data 3 times. Her hands shook worse than ever. When she finally looked up at Daewon, there were tears in her eyes for the first time in years. "I did not know," she whispered. "I thought I was building vengeance. I was building apocalypse." "We're building both," Daewon replied. "The question is whether you finish it." Hannah pulled up the abort code on her screen. The countdown read 12 hours. I wanted to make them pay. I wanted to matter. I wanted the galaxy to tremble when it heard humanity's name. "And they will," Daewon said. "But not because we destroyed them. Because we chose not to. They killed Mars. They are killing Earth right now. And I hate them for it. But Ambassador Jiho was right. Vengeance makes us their equals. Mercy makes us their betters." Hannah sat in silence for a long time. In the facility on Earth, Agent Mira prepared to sacrifice herself. She had explained her plan to everyone. She would interface directly with the Vengeance engine's quantum systems and transmit the first part of the shutdown code. It would burn through her brain like fire, destroying her consciousness in seconds. But it would work. "Wait," Taesun said. "Dr. Hannah might still abort. If she does, you do not need to die." "And if she does not abort in time?" Mira asked. "Then everyone dies anyway. I am not willing to take that chance." She placed her hands on the quantum interface terminals. Her skin began to shimmer and change, the surgical alterations breaking down as her true sylphan nature emerged. Crystalline structures grew through her flesh. Her neural pathways began to glow with inner light. "Tell my people," she said, "that I died believing humanity deserved to live." She activated the interface. The pain was instant and absolute. Quantum data flooded through her brain at speeds no biological system was designed to handle. She screamed as her consciousness fragmented into a billion pieces. But even as she died, she completed her task. The first part of the shutdown code transmitted successfully into the Vengeance engine's core. Captain Yuna, still dissolving in the core chamber, received the code. She entered it into the console with hands that existed in multiple time periods simultaneously. One part complete. Now, she just needed Dr. Hannah's code. The countdown read for hours, in orbit. Counselor Vexter and the Council fleet detected the massive energy spike from the Vengeance engine. Their sensors showed them the resonance field beginning to build. In 4 hours, everything within 20 light-years would be dead. The fleet tried to run, but Vexor realized they would not make it in time. For the first time in his long life, Counselor understood what it meant to be powerless. To be at the mercy of beings he had considered inferior. He opened a channel to Director Quan. "Please," Vexor said, and there was no arrogance in his voice anymore. "Stop this. We will give you anything. Territory, resources, a permanent seat on the council with full voting rights. Just stop this." Quan looked at the transmission. He thought about the 50 million dead. He thought about Mars colony, vaporized in an instant. He thought about 5 years of humiliation and mockery. "I cannot stop it," Quan replied honestly. "Only one person can, and I have no idea if she will." In the Kuiper Belt, Dr. Hannah's finger still hovered over the abort button. Daewon had said everything he could. There was nothing left but to wait for her decision. "If I do this," Hannah said quietly, "if I stop the engine, they win. They get to live. They get to continue treating us like we do not matter." "No," Daewon replied. "If you stop the engine, everyone gets to see that humanity had the power to destroy the galaxy and chose not to use it. They get to see that we are capable of mercy even when we have every right to vengeance. That is how we win. Not through weapons, but through being better than they are." Hannah looked at the screen showing Captain Yuna in the core chamber. The young pilot was barely recognizable anymore. Her body torn apart by temporal stress, existing in too many time periods at once. But she remained at her post, waiting for the abort code. "She is dying for us," Hannah said. "She is dying to give me the chance to be better than I have been." "Yes." The countdown reached 90 seconds. Dr. Hannah pressed the button. The abort code transmitted instantly. Through quantum entanglement, Captain Yuna in the core chamber entered the second half of the shutdown sequence. The Vengeance engine's massive reactors began to power down. The resonance field collapsed. The door to null space began to close. "Captain," Yuna's last thought before her consciousness scattered across time was a simple one. "We chose mercy. We chose to be better," she died with a smile. The Vengeance engine went dark with 15 seconds remaining on the countdown. In orbit, the Council fleet detected the shutdown and erupted in chaotic celebration. They had been seconds from extinction. Counselor Vexor immediately prepared to order the bombardment to resume. He had been terrified, but now the threat was gone. Humanity had shown weakness by not using their weapon. They could be destroyed with impunity. Then Director Quan did something unexpected. He broadcast the complete specifications of the Vengeance engine to every species in the galaxy simultaneously. Not just the Council. Everyone. Every civilization. From the most advanced to the most primitive. Now had access to null space technology. More importantly, he broadcast the data about the entity waiting beyond null space. He showed every species in the galaxy. What would happen if anyone activated this technology at full power? He showed them Captain Yuna's sacrifice. He showed them humanity's choice. The galaxy's response was immediate and overwhelming. 43 of the 47 Council species demanded Vexor's resignation. The Silthene Collective, learning that their princess had died saving both humanity and the galaxy, declared immediate alliance with Earth. Within hours. Delegations from 12 species arrived at Earth offering aid for the devastated cities. Counselor Vexor found himself alone. His own government recalled him in disgrace, horrified by how close his arrogance had brought them to extinction. He was forced to offer humanity full council membership, territory, reparations, and a formal apology. But Commander Daewon, now representing Earth at the council, refused the traditional terms. Instead, he proposed the Galactic Cooperation Initiative. Every species would share technology and scientific discoveries freely. No more hoarding knowledge. No more treating younger species as inferior. The Council, thoroughly chastened and terrified of what might happen if they refused, agreed unanimously. 5 years later, Commander Daewon stood in a new facility on Luna. It was not hidden underground. It was built openly, in cooperation with scientists from 30 different species. They were studying null space together, trying to understand and potentially communicate with the entity beyond, rather than unleashing it.